Hello, friends. It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025, although you may be listening to this at a different time than I'm doing this, but that's fine. Welcome to the Kingsman and the CyBUr Guy podcast. I am your host, retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Dara Gibson, co-founder and director of cyber operations for Five Eyes Ltd. My co-host, the Kingsman, Michael McQuaid, is not available today. I can't say where he is because he got mad last week when I said where he would be, and so I won't be doing that this time around. But I have brought in backups to help me today. It takes Michael be happy because it takes three people to replace him, his single person. So his head will get bigger because of that. But I am joined by three experts in the various fields, but we're going to be talking about cyber insurance today. As far as since this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we're trying to stay focused on certain topics that are important, and certainly with all the data breaches and other things that we're seeing going around everywhere, the topic of cyber insurance always comes up. So hopefully we'll have a interesting debate on, is it like health insurance or is it more like a prenup? And we'll talk about what that means here in a little bit. Let me introduce my guests. Let me go ladies first, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Dara, we'll go to you first.
My name is Dara Gibson, and I am the CEO and owner of Cybersecurity Readiness Advisors, where we provide virtual CISO services as well as risk management services. But most important, licensed cyber insurance coverage for our customers and our clients.
Thank you, Dara. Paige? Paige, still there?
Hey, I'm Paige Hanson. I am... Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. There you go. You were frozen for a minute.
Do I have a leg?
Yep, you're good now.
I'm back. I really know how to make an entrance. Paige Hanson. I am the founder of CyBUr Labs. We help small to medium-sized businesses start their framework for compliance. So we do a lot of SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, PCI DSS. We help with our advisory services, and it's actually really cool to get businesses go from a kind of non-compliant and fragmented workforce to then very well documented and more secure. So I love what I do.
Thank you, Paige. And Matthew.
Hi, thanks, Darren. I'm a 25-year incident response specialist. My background has principally been in the government for NSA, NRO, DOD. I did forensics in Afghanistan and Iraq, a handful of people. And today I run my independent consulting business, Tactically Secure. And I've also written a book called Survive Ransomware, where I bring the solution to handling a ransomware crisis from beginning to end for everyone, small businesses to Fortune-sized companies.
Great, and I think we'll talk a little bit about this in this discussion as we talk about cyber insurance and ransomware and things like that. But let's get right to the first question that I'm basing this whole conversation on. When we talk about cyber insurance, is it like health insurance, where if you want to drink all the alcohol you want, smoke as often as you want, take drugs, when you go to the hospital because you have a heart attack, health insurance will likely pay for it? Or is it more like a prenup, where you pay for if you do the right things and something happens, then you'll get paid for it? So Dara, let's start with you. Where do you come down on what exactly, how do you describe cyber insurance to companies that say, hey, I need cyber insurance?
Well, it's kind of its own beast, to be honest. But if you're comparing this to health insurance or prenup, I would have to say we're more like health insurance because of the fact a prenup will never prevent the divorce or the actual event. Whereas in cyber insurance, their main goal is to prevent the event. We're protecting that digital marriage of all intents and purposes. And so therefore, cyber insurance is just much more like a health insurance than a prenup, in my opinion.
All right, Matthew, I think you have a different take on that. If our discussion yesterday is any clue.
Yeah, I think it's actually closer to a prenup. Health insurance really expects you to eventually consume the product at some point, and with ransomware, the hope is that you have zero claims. A policy is a conditional contract where you declare your security posture. You accept obligations such as you have incident response, backups, controls, playbooks, and the insurer promises to cover any defined losses if you meet your obligations. If you violate warranties, if you misrepresent your controls or miss deadlines, they can void and delay it. It's less of a you'll file someday safety net, more of a negotiated shield is a risk management practice. I see health insurance, the difference there, and respectfully I disagree, that like it's like someone saying, I have health insurance. I'll just eat that mayonnaise tuna sandwich that's been sitting in my car all day because I have health insurance. They don't want you to do that. But a prenup, it's if I leave this guy, I'm thinking of in a girl's standpoint for some reason, but that I will lose all of these benefits because of the prenup. And so it's sort of setting up a process to where they hopefully don't get ransomware because they have done all of these protective measures beforehand.
All right, and Paige, you get to break the tie.
Well, I'm more of an observation, because coming from the compliance side, I'm just seeing more and more small businesses. One, they drag their feet a little bit from the compliance side because they're working on building their business and so on. So they just jump into getting cyber insurance, but they don't necessarily know what criteria is being required in order to get the maximum claim. And so it's definitely an educational point. So where I feel like there's education in both health insurance and in prenup, at least with prenup, you'll probably understand what the rules are or the parameters in a prenup. I think health insurance is kind of complex, but either way you look at it, it's not new, but it is a newer coverage people are getting. And there's a lot of confusion. That's why this conversation is so important.
So let's talk a little bit about how it's.
So Darren, she played Switzerland on you. She did not. She did not call the tie.
That's okay.
She played Switzerland.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have many years of media training to pivot the conversation.
Yeah. She answered into her silo. I'm going to answer this way because it fits my silo. But one thing I could talk about when I talk about cybersecurity in general is the evolution of the cyber threat over time. Let's talk a little bit about that evolution of cyber insurance, because 10 years ago, if you wanted cyber insurance, you had plenty of people that said, I'll give it to you. Just sign here and I'll give you cyber insurance and we'll be good to go. And then I think it progressed to, all these people are now making claims and we don't have anything in place to say, did you do A, B, or C? So how has that evolved and where are we now? Like, how is it more stringent? How more stringent is it? Or is it still kind of a Wild West? And this is kind of a 4-part question, so take whichever part you like best. And are companies not even dealing with that anymore? Are some of the big insurance companies saying, well, I'm not doing cyber insurance, let Cowbell and whoever else is a cyber insurance company do that? So Dara, you're in the field, so talk a little bit about any part of that you want to answer, feel free.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the consultant answer of it depends, right? So traditionally speaking in the insurance market, you're right. We started with a very soft market, and then around COVID, it became very hard and very stringent. But we've actually ventured on that other end of the spectrum again, where it's become a soft market. So now, as long as you as a business can say, hey, I know how to spell MFA, or I know what cybersecurity sometimes kind of means, and insurance companies are actually going to provide you that policy. They're also going to provide you additional protective elements within your policy, maybe free of charge, maybe reduced prices, because A, they want to close the deal, but B, they also want to reduce their risk on the insurance side of the house, on the carrier side of the house. So they're offering to say, hey, we'll give you discounted endpoint detection and response capabilities provided you buy our cyber insurance policy. Or we'll give you free cyber attorney privileges with, 30-minute consultation with your cyber attorney provided you buy our cyber insurance policy. So we've ventured back into the soft market, which, to be honest, is kind of scary. We've seen both sides of those coins, and we've seen what it costs the insurance company overall when they're like, oh, you might get hit, but that's okay. We'll still write you a policy, right? And then all of a sudden they do get hit. And then they're like, oh, we just didn't realize what we were insuring. So right now it's what they consider a soft market. With the creation of the, AI, as everybody wants to talk about recently, or the more accurately involved implementation policies, that I think we're going to see a lot of swing back on that pendulum, back towards the harder market. But for today, it's a very soft market and pretty easy to get a cyber insurance policy.
Okay. Paige, Matthew, anything you want to add on to that? I'm going to say that's it.
The queen has spoken.
I guess that's it. All right. So let me go to Matthew on this next one then. So now you're saying, so obviously there's other pieces to insurance, especially in your area, right? We talked yesterday, and I wanted to get into this about how does cyber insurance help the company afterwards, other than just paying the claim? What is what are some things you can, and are these riders that you can put in that say, hey, I need you to negotiate the ransom. If I get hit with a ransomware, I need a negotiator, or I need instant response, or I need forensic help. Where does that fall into those policies? So Matthew, you've probably had some experience with this. How's that look on your end?
Sure. For companies that have been insured for cybersecurity and typically don't have like an IT security team, or they try and combine IT and IT security despite those being two completely different careers. The insurance company can help by brokering. We have these people that we trust, that we've used before, that can handle your incident response. And we have IT admins that specialize in security, that they can come in to help with remediation and cleanup, so that they can get them running again on the back end. They do offer that. No one should do negotiations on a ransomware on their own. It'd be as if your daughter was kidnapped and you were doing all of the talking to the kidnappers. For them, it's a business transaction. You want someone who's not emotionally involved, and an insurance company can help introduce you to people that you wouldn't normally have even started to look for, because you wouldn't have considered it as an option in your business, because most business owners are focused on growing their business, not in being security professionals.
Right. And so Paige, with the market that you work in, right, you small and medium businesses primarily, where are they coming down with? I mean, how are you assisting them to say, okay, look, you got to do these things for this insurance to work? And how does that blending of governance and risk and compliance interface with the insurance market? Is that becoming more of a thing? What did it start off as? Nothing. Like they were just, hey, like we said, Wild West, pay everything, soft market, became hard, included those things. And now is it a soft market with that GRC part in play?
Yeah, I've seen it easier for companies to maintain or to hit all of the requirements for their cyber insurance from a cybersecurity perspective if they have a security certification in place or a framework in place. Even if it's something like the NIST cybersecurity framework, which is very baseline framework for setting up your cybersecurity controls, you're meeting a lot of the requirements already. It's just a matter of because you don't know what you don't know. So if you get a policy and you don't even know that these requirements are in the policy, or it was told to, let's say, one department who was getting the policy, but then it's not then translated to the rest of the business, well, then you are wide open and you didn't realize you needed to map these controls to what the policy says. And so it's definitely, I have found it easier in these organizations when you already have that as a priority and you've established whether you have your SOC 2 or you have a framework, and then they pretty much match spot on.
So Dara, what are those minimum things that a company should have anyway? But where is maybe this is a stupid question, but is there a framework that insurance companies prefer one over the other, or they don't care as long as you have one that has these 5 things at least, we'll be happy with it, right? I assume like in the clear defense industry where I used to work, CMMC is becoming a big thing. And our insurance company is going to look at defense contractors and say, look, if you're not CMMC certified, we're not insuring you, because we know you're not doing the things you need to do to even do business with the DoD. And that may be an extreme example, but there's certainly hundreds of thousands of companies that have no framework requirement, right? That are just, whatever, and who knows? So what are the minimum things that insurance companies want to have? Like things that companies need to think about, I got to at least do this. If I'm not doing this, then I'm screwed insurance wise.
So to be honest, looking at my crystal ball, I think a lot of companies will have to be that CMMC certified a few years down the line from now. Not anything more than the fact that we're all going to have to do contract work with a company that does contract work for the DoD, right? So along the line, we're all going to have to become CMMC certified. But for the most part today, insurance companies are looking at various frameworks because obviously there's best practices that way they want to instill. So talking about some are instilling the NIST framework, some are including the CIS frameworks. But primarily, there's no like set order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they will say because whoever they are, believe that 98% of cybersecurity incidences will not occur if you have MFA put in place. So that's probably the number one that all insurance companies would be looking for right now is an MFA program across the ecosystem, from their entire, customer service rep all the way through an admin. They're also looking for backups. And cybersecurity awareness training for all employees, and a lot of times they're actually asking for the contractors as well to be a part of that cyber insurance employee training program, because they want them to be able to identify what does a fish look like, what does the scary shiny object look like that may not be real. So those are the top 3 that I would say are currently already in place. They're also looking towards more privacy controls, making sure you understand if your privacy policy says that you're actually doing that, because in 2025, a lot of the lawsuits were actually privacy related. And of course, having your endpoint detection and response capabilities put into place, that's another protocol that they're looking for. And understanding how AI is used within your organization. Some companies will say, we're not using AI at all, but yet at the same time, they're using Microsoft Copilot or they're using ChatGPT on their cell phones. So they are using AI, and they just have to understand how it's being implemented or deployed across their place of employment.
Policies. Got to have policies for those things, people. Mm-hmm. That'll solve a lot of your problems, right? So Paige, let me go to you with that. So are insurers becoming auditors at all? Like, are they now auditing systems, or are they just kind of saying, like, before I got to where I am now, I was working with another startup that had some stuff with insurance, and for a lot of different reasons, I kind of backed out of that. But I know one of the things that we were trying to overcome is the long form to fill out for cyber insurance, like just all these tons of questions, right? And so are insurers auditors? Are they trying to become auditors, or is it just they don't know any better? Maybe that's a better way to put it.
I'm going to lob that to either Dara or Matthew, because you deal more with the actual cyber insurance. That it'd be interesting to see what you say.
All right, Matthew, we'll go to you for that one then.
Sure. I want to address the other one real quick, and the frameworks. We're still in the infant version of cyber insurance. I mean, I don't know about the ladies, but Darren, you and I can both remember dial-up. We're at the very beginning phases of where this is.
Prodigy, baby.
So
I'm with you there, my friend. I'm with you.
I don't want to call you out there, but like a lot of this is the insurance companies are still trying to figure out what's going to stick. So all of these are good. Frameworks are good. I like CIS, the NIST, they're very good, but these are the bare minimums that should be involved. If you go with your realtor to go buy a house, to classify as a bedroom, it has to have a closet. And then when you buy the house, there's no furniture. So a bare minimum for the house to live in is what there's being sold to you. But none of us would live in a house without any furniture, dishes, everything else that makes it comfortable. So the frameworks are the bare minimum that companies should start with, and that you should be this tall to write on the internet, kind of from a security perspective. However, to address your current question with have they become auditors? Yes, I think that they have, but it makes perfect sense. The first level of auditing for governance would be the laws say you have to do these things. The second level to approach, okay, I'm in business and the law says I have to do it this way. But to be in business and to make money, to be able to insure myself so that I don't lose money is the next level. And that's where the cyber insurance is coming in. They're saying in order to protect yourself and to be able to run and do things that you need insurance in order to be able to do, to communicate and do transactions with other companies, you have to have a certain level of insurance. This is the level that they have set. And it is still a base level of what security should be at, but it is a start, and it is a way of bringing people along for that. I know that you are a security person, Darren, but if you weren't, and you didn't have a policy requirement for how long your password would be, I'm a security person. I've been cracking passwords for over 20 years. My password would be QWERTY or 123. I just need access to the system. If there was no policy that said it has to be complex, it has to be at least 12 characters long and no duplicates and such. That's how it enforces and creates better security posture. Through that, you have to do this way. Your employees have to do things this way. It's just the first level of security, governance.
All right.
Matthew, I really love your house analogy. I will be using that moving forward, and I will say, Matthew. That's a good one.
Well, we also want to remember we all want to live in a home, not just the house, because that's the difference of all those additive protective agents in our house and our home.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and you want to live in work and deal with secure companies, and that framework is the base level, but everything else needs to be above that. They should have MFA, the option for MFA. They should have network segmentation. They should have, third-party risk controls. They should have policies for their employees. They should have training so that their employees don't answer the fish and introduce risks that can infect the entire company, and EDR and patch management and all the other things that they should have.
So I basically ask every guest this question. It has nothing to do with insurance whatsoever, but it's a hobby horse for me when we talk about policies and things companies should do. The one policy, if I own a company, if we ever ended up getting employees, my one policy was going to be if you're on a corporate machine, you cannot access your personal email. Just start with there. Just block all of that. Do you need to go to Gmail for your email or your whatever? You have a phone. You have this probably. You're not in a skiff, likely. So what do you need to access it on corporate resources? I would do application whitelisting and start from there and just, Google.com is not on the whitelist and Yahoo.com. I mean, I don't know if anybody uses Yahoo.com anymore, but. And
then your corporation can set up very strong anti-phishing procedures to help block that. And that's the largest hole. That's where over 90% of all attacks started with a very well-crafted phish that hit a user that had too much privileges.
Yep. Paige?
So Dara and I are at a CyBUr conference right now, and one of the presenters, he was formerly with the CIA. He was talking about how to thwart nation state attacks. And Darren, exactly what you said, which is your personal, he actually went to go ahead and said, no BYOD policy, or they wouldn't allow BYOD. So bring your own device. And that if you truly were trying to thwart nation state actors, that is one of the things. You can't protect something that's not in your environment. So to your point of making sure they didn't access anything personal in your environment is super important if you really want to take the next level of protecting your company's data.
Right. I have a friend, his whole thing is it's convenience over security. Most companies go the convenience route. They don't go the security route, sadly.
Those two, security is the opposite of convenience.
Yep. So,
but am I your friend? Because I think I'm the one that said that.
No,
or I do say that.
You said it, but it's not, I didn't hear it from you first. So we could talk frameworks and all that stuff, but people want to hear stories. So for the rest of this time, let's talk about interesting stories where, if you have them, where company had X number of amount of insurance, they had an incident, and the insurance either did a really good thing and did a lot of stuff and recovered the company, or the insurance company said, yeah, sorry, can't help you because your multi-factor authentication was turned off. So Darren, let's start with you. Give us a couple good story, or one good story, or one bad story, or whatever stories you want. It's story time on the Kingsman and the CyBUr Guy podcast.
There has been countless number of stories in which I had one customer call me on a Friday night saying, hey, I think we might see something weird on our network. And I said, well, let's call your insurance company and get things going, right? And they said, no, we're gambling men. We're going to wait till Monday morning. So they waited till Monday morning. And unfortunately, at that point, they found out that their entire network was encrypted and destroyed. And you name it, there could have been a lot of 4-letter words said at that moment. But their cyber insurance policy didn't cover it because they felt that was neglect. And because they chose not to file on Friday, they did not get their policy utilized on Monday. Now, on the good side of this house because cyber insurance is designed to be that risk management transfer, that financial coverage, right? I've seen several cases, large, small, medium sized, where the company called at the right time in the right location and put their their vendor panel, their panel vendors in process. They used the right attorneys, and the insurance company paid no questions, hands down. Within 30 days, everything was taken care of. So it truly depends on how you have everything structured.
So quick follow-up to that point. So did everything right. Insurance company paid the insurance. What happened to their premium?
Because we actually did some stuff on the back end after the fact, they actually came out stronger and their premiums went down in the back end on the next renewal because of the fact they were a different company than they were the year before.
Awesome. And what happened to the premium on the
Does
first
that
company?
always happen? No.
Sure.
Can it happen? Yes.
Yeah, what happened to the premiums on the first company?
Yeah, you don't want to know.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Matthew, you got a good story and a bad story or any stories?
Sure. I've been brought in to handle ransomware engagement once, and the company had told the insurance company that they had MFA, that they had EDR and such, and then brought us in acting on behalf of the insurance company. And we had to, in our reporting, tell the insurance company that, no, these things were not observed. These things were not in the process and such. And they lost the insurance after that. They did not cover it. Mm-hmm. Claim was denied. They were still recovered from ransomware, but they ended up having to pay on the back end for our support at insurance premium levels. But, they came out a little worse financially afterwards, despite having recovered from ransomware from that. So we do see that in the industry when we go in, people that lie on the claims form that say, we have all of these things, sure, and such, because insurance companies are a business and they're working to do as many claims as possible, so they don't have time to go through and investigate. Yes, you said you had EDR 100% across your organization. We're going to go check all 1,000 of those devices and see. And so when there is an event and they come in and they're like, oh, you had EDR and then you took it off, or it wasn't activated, or it wasn't, logging wasn't being checked or anything, they will find out when it comes time to pay for that. So.
Have you found instances when you're doing the incident response that the bad guys were in there beforehand and knew what the insurance policy was and based their ransom on that rate?
Constantly. It is actually one of the things that we found that they are looking for the insurance policy, because if they can ask what the insurance will cover, they know they got it. So
okay, so what's the learning?
And the threat actors are also finding the incident response plans too, right? So you're going to say, oh, my incident response plan is stuck on my laptop. That's encrypted by the threat actor who just magically asked for the exact ransom that my insurance policy said. The reason why, all that's stuck inside your laptop. So you need to have hard copies of those.
So
you've seen all of those movies, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12. How did they know where the people would be and at what time and for how long? It's because they saw their incident response plan. When I write and create these for companies, I let them know, you need to protect this. It doesn't need to be on your shared drive. It doesn't need to be in SharePoint. You need it on, everyone needs a hard copy of this. Go down to Office Depot, pay $5 and print it out, and then put it on a USB drive. Do not keep it on your network, because this will tell the threat actors exactly what they're going to do and in what order.
All right. Paige, your stories?
Yeah, I had a company who the CEO realized that her VP of operations was creating rules and all of this nonsense in their organization. And so when they came to needing some forensic work, they didn't have any sort of insurance. That's something that she had handed off to the operations person. And so they ended up, she had to shut down the company because of everything that this person had done, but they didn't have any cyber insurance or it's more insider threat, but they didn't have that insurance to rely on. And so here she had to, spin up a whole new company in different environment, everything. So it was a lot of loss just because you gave somebody so much access to make the decisions, and she was then out of the loop. So you got to keep tabs on your employees and access control.
So I'm going to ask.
I'll echo that.
Go ahead, Matthew. Sorry.
No, I'll echo what I've seen Paige said. We've been brought in to handle a ransomware event. They thought they had insurance, and it was something as simple as like the CEO had said to the VP of finance, I want you to go get cyber insurance, and they put it on the back burner and never did it. And so most of the team thought they had insurance, and then they came time to pay for us. They're like, I guess we can't. And that business is no longer in business.
Yep.
So this was not on my list of questions, but
Folks, I'm going to have to bow out gracefully.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's time for them to use this room. So
Fair enough.
I must say goodbye, and we will chat another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dara. Thanks for
Dara.
popping in. And we only got a couple minutes left, but I'll ask you two this question because I think this is the investigator in me thinking this question out loud as it's come to me. So you've got, obviously, we know the bad guys are in the systems of their targets looking for their insurance. How badly are the insurance companies being targeted? Pretty badly, I would assume, to know who their clients are and what their rate, and how are they protecting themselves? Like, have there been instances where the insurance company was the target and they didn't do the right things in their end and lost all sorts of crap on their side?
That's a great question. I don't have any stories about that. I've never had to respond to that, but I would be very interested in if Paige has any idea. So
no, but I mean, if you think about where the data is, I would naturally, if you're putting on your threat actor hat, that's somewhere where I would target. That's not an encouraging statement I'm making to anyone. I'm making that from a observation statement. But no, I haven't heard of those stories, but I can imagine that they would have to strengthen their defenses as well, knowing that they have a lot of data to lose.
All right, so go ahead, Matthew.
I don't think that they're doing as good a job, actually. As Paige was talking, I'm remembering I was doing risk management for a company that did major insurance. If I said the name, you would recognize them.
Sure.
Absolutely. They're one of the top ones. They had some legacy controls that all we could do would say, segment this and then put all your EDR and eyes on it so that you know if anything happens. Make sure a jump box is the only thing that access it, because it had a legacy systems that there was no way to upgrade it. It's old, but it was going to cost them several $1 million to upgrade it to something modern. And then we're not talking like Windows 10 going away. We're talking like Windows XP level of controls that they didn't have a good way of protecting. So I know that cyber insurance businesses are just businesses, and they understand what should be done, but this is probably a level of do as I say, not as I do sometimes. Right. So I'm certain that threat actors are absolutely targeting them, looking for people that are insured and looking to see what those controls are. So
well, it's like auto insurance companies. I'm sure their leadership gets in car accidents, so it's not like they're doing the right thing driving either. So it's probably the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
So pitch a little bit about your individual companies, what you do, and how insurance kind of wraps around that. So Paige, I'll start with you. Talk about CyBUr Labs. Talk about the coordination there with the insurance companies and how your platform can help companies with their insurance down the line.
Yes. So a lot of small businesses, they may, they're focusing, I think Matthew, you even alluded to it as well. They're focusing on their product and building their company, but maybe not necessarily protecting their data. And so the security frameworks that are out there and kind of the most popular baseline are SOC 2, the NIST cybersecurity framework. If you're using AI, NIST AI risk management framework, the CIS controls, which is was it something for internet security? I'm spacing. But those are all really good frameworks. But as Matthew, as you said, that's a baseline. This is the baseline of what you should be doing, but businesses need help. So that's where we come in at CyBUr Labs. We help you write the policies, making sure they match everything that you do. So you're not attesting to something that you're not actually doing, like the requirements for cyber insurance. If it's saying you need to enable MFA across the board, if they're saying you need security awareness training and you don't have the documentation to prove that you actually are, well, you're likely not going to get a full claim or denied a claim, or your premium goes up. So we help with all of that with our platform, and then our advisory service is on top of that.
Cool. Matthew, talk about your business.
Sure. First off, CIS stands for Center of Internet Security, but it is the critical security controls.
Why did I really, thank you, Matthew. I just was spacing for a moment.
It happens.
The framework, though, is critical security controls, the 18 things that every company should be doing from a very low level baseline, this tall to ride on the internet. Thank you, Darren. My company is Tactically Secure. It is me offering cybersecurity solutions. I'm a consultant. I come in and I talk to businesses, small, medium businesses, nonprofits. If you're listening, you can get free consulting advice from me if I believe in your cause. And I'm promoting a book, Survive Ransomware, which is being written. Of the 6 books on ransomware on Amazon, which I won't hold up, but they're behind me. None of them actually walk you through handling a ransomware event. They all tiptoe around it, talk about the history and everything. I go through from the complete, you should do these things once you, first day, first hour when you get ransomware, here's how you should handle it. A bit of it is a little bit like brain surgery for dummies. There's some complexity to it. Ransomware is a very complicated thing, and forensics is not something you can just pick up and do from day one. You know this, Darren. It is, but it does walk through and give someone a roadmap that they can handle. But my business is Tactically Secure. That's the domain name, and I consult with companies to help them secure themselves better.
Is it tacticallysecure.com? Or dot?
Yes.
Okay, and Secure
and surviveransomware.com.
Gotcha. And for
Yes.
Secure Labs, SecureLabs.ai for Paige.
Yes,
So-
yes.
So
And-
go ahead.
I'll plug Dara's company as well, if you don't mind.
Please.
She's at Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay, she's at Cybersecurity Readiness Advisors, and she acts as your virtual CISO, so your Chief Information Security Officer. And she does, not only cyber insurance, she's a very knowledgeable person in cyber insurance, but then she does security awareness trainings. She'll build your incident response plan, make sure everything is documented. So she's definitely a really great person if you need some assistance and understanding what your organization should do. Her services are very, very important.
And you can find all of us on LinkedIn. I will post all of our LinkedIn contacts in the show notes for the podcast and in the YouTube notes for this as well. One last question. You can answer it quickly or you can go off on it if you want. But it's basically a question I'm sure you hear all the time, or at least from podcast idiots like myself. So we all work with small and medium companies. How do you convince them that they're not too small to be a target?
Well, I heard this quote the other day. Oh, go ahead, Matthew. Go ahead.
Paige, you've already started. Go ahead. You heard a quote the other day.
Oh, okay. No, I heard this quote the other day where the company said, "Oh, well, we're low tech. We're low tech. We don't need XYZ framework or cyber insurance." And the person responded, "If you're out of commission because you have a cyber attack, ransomware, and you can no longer make the widgets or access the company database, make payroll, then you are not low tech. So therefore, it applies to you." But I will say it's really hard as a small business myself, talking to other small businesses. We have more success with larger companies because they already have established, well, they've got usually regulations they have to abide by, but they have departments and they just need assistance. So small business is very hard, but I loved that quote about low tech because a lot of people think they're low tech or they're too small, but a lot of businesses wouldn't be able to operate at all or talk to each other if they had a cyber incident. So it's shifting the framework there.
Matthew?
Sure. I think that small businesses and medium businesses don't understand how much of a target they are. The threat actors are actively practicing with them. They have what they do down and they understand the methodology that they will follow across of them. If you think of 100 businesses in the United States, the top 10 of those businesses make up Walmart and
Disney
Apple
World,
and the large businesses. Yeah. The other 80 businesses make up small, medium businesses, including small businesses like myself, a business of one. So the amount of targeting out there, the reason they haven't been attacked yet is just a statistical anomaly. There's a 65% chance that some level of ransomware will affect them in the next calendar year. is just statistical chance. Depending on how secure they are versus their neighbor means how likely they are to survive it. And as Paige said, if they are doing anything above a Stripe transaction and any sort of email to be able to order parts from their vendor, it doesn't take much to take someone off of line.
All right. Well, Matthew, Paige, and Dara, who's already left, thank you so much for taking the time. I greatly appreciate it, as always. If there's anything I can do for you guys in the future, please feel free to let me know. Find Matthew Waddell and Paige Hanson on LinkedIn. Again, I'll be posting their information in the show notes. You can find them there. And with that, I will let you go about the remainder of your day. I appreciate you taking the time to download, listen, or watch this podcast wherever you are digesting it. If you have thoughts, comments, or questions, feel free to hit me up, dmott@5eyesltd.com. We will be back again next week. The Kingsman will be back, and we'll talk something within logistics and cybersecurity, because that's kind of what we do. With that, know that knowledge is protection. If you can understand the threats targeting you, you can assess your risk, proceed wisely. Thanks again for watching or listening. Have a great rest of your week.